afternoon to you. It's 4 o'clock in time for Sports4CLE. Thanks for joining us. I hope you're having a good afternoon. So the Browns, after that win against the Panthers in the first preseason game, back on the field today. We'll be out in Berea in just a minute. Former NFL quarterback Dan Orlovsky takes a look at Shedeur Sanders in the first preseason game. This from ESPN's Get Up.
I think the thing that you saw that maybe weren't standouts in college were, one, played really fast, and then two, very little panic. I love these plays. So 5 guys protecting. He's going to wave his left hand to the receiver. No hot, no blitz is an issue. Communication's great there. Those safeties are going to rotate. That safety dropping from the top of the screen, Shedeur just has to hold them. He wants to throw this inside slant. There's a small little window. That's real life in the NFL. If he's a fraction later, that safety hits that ball, pop-up, interception, incompletion. This is backed up in his own end zone. Again, waving to the receiver. Don't worry about any blitz. That's not a concern. This is fantastic. You get those 2 safeties again. What's the rotation? Backside guy drops. He's got a shuffle. That ball's coming out now. Corners underneath, safeties over the top. The anticipation's there, but also the direction of the throw, the placement of that throw. And then this is lovely. This is the touchdown pass, the second part. Blitzing linebacker. You guys have to see, he's going to shuffle, remain a passer, keep his eyes down the field, and look how quickly that happens. That's the playing fast to me. Sometimes in college, Shedeur would just play slow to a point or run away and retreat. Now, there were moments of that, but I just thought watching him, he did some things even in one game that were somewhat question marks coming out of college that you have to be so encouraged about. No question, he has to be getting starting reps this week.
It remains to be seen, but you know what? He played really well, and there is a quarterback's view of how well Shedeur Sanders played. Brian Baldinger, former NFL offensive lineman, talking about Carson Schwesinger and what he saw on him in film. Here's a little bit of a breakdown.
Let's keep an eye on Carson Schwesinger, the Browns' second-round pick. He played 13 snaps. He had 6 tackles in 13 snaps, including that one there on Chuba Hubbard. All right? You just watch him attack. Bam! Right through the outside shoulder of the guard right there, tackle. Now watch this. This is the thing of beauty. Here he is. There's Rico Dowdle, their new run back, right? Watch this. Downhill. Get off the guard. Now watch this. Bam! Stacking Rico. Bam! Stack him up. That's it. Plant him into the turf. Oh, it's beautiful stuff. 6 tackles in 13 plays. Now you watch him here. He's mugging the A-gap. Now he's going to bust out of here, and there's the throw to T-Mac on the outside. And who makes the tackle? Schwesinger. Just get used to the name, all right? Let it roll right off your tongue. Here we go. Again, downhill right here. Rico Dowdle meets, bam, stack the guard and take down Dowdle. Get used to it. He's going to wear the green. He's not coming off the field. He's doing it all for Cleveland.
Again, rookie second-round pick, 6 tackles and 13 snaps. That's pretty good. He was all over the field. Browns rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders was mic'd up for the preseason game against Panthers. Let's listen in.
Hey, Miles, you think my spin will work on you?
No. It worked today. It was good. It would work on me, though. You did it back-to-back, too.
So, what you looking at, when you're chasing it?
Shoot, I'm just looking at how to get upfield on you. I'm going to send you back to where my guys are. You trying to get up and outside of me. If I cut that off, where you going to go? You're not going to run away from me. I'm going to chase you down.
So, which way you going?
If you turn this way, I'm going to go.
Because in practice, you do be getting faster the farther you go.
Hey, just let me gain some ground. They started spamming that.
That was bad DN play, huh? Bad DN play. I ain't gonna lie, I want to feel one of your swipes, though. One of his aggressive, grabs.
Right.
I want to just see if I could get out of it, though.
Well, you're a good kid. I don't want to have to hurt you, bro. We're going to need you, bro. We're going to need you.
And there you go. Shedeur Sanders trying to figure out how Myles Garrett would pressure him. So good stuff. All right, Browns have 2 first-round picks next season, which is thought to be pretty good quarterback draft. One of the guys who is in the mix for that QB1 next year is a local kid. Penn State's Drew Allar went to Medina High School. Was asked about his hometown team.
I know you're from Cleveland. Did you grow up a Browns fan?
I did, yeah.
Okay, so would that be your dream team, or that would be pretty special to get drafted by them?
I mean, that would definitely be special because, I mean, my dad had season tickets growing up. They've been passed down since my great-grandfather. So
oh, my gosh.
Yeah, so like back in the, I think 50s or 60s is when my family first got the tickets in their name. So that would definitely be surreal just because, I grew up going to every home game from the time I was 7 to 8 years old to by the time I was a freshman in college.
Oh, you would go to every home game?
Yeah, no matter the weather
or
the record. Yeah.
I was just about to say.
Yeah.
Drew Allar, Penn State quarterback, a lot to evaluate before they have to make a decision about that, but local kid, so we'll follow him. All right, the Browns have signed cornerback Christian Holmes and cornerback Darius Rush. They waived Luke Floria with an injury designation, so that hamstring injury, pretty serious. And offensive tackle Roy Mabikta. They also designated Killian Zaire as their international player. Browns likely want Floria back if he clears waivers, but again, that hamstring injury enough to make him miss some time. Let's turn our attention to the Guardians. Trying to complete the sweep of the White Sox in Chicago yesterday. Slade Sakone on the mound for the Guardians, and Sakone a little bit of a jam. First inning, runner on, and Sosa with a 2-run homer to left to make it 2-0. Still in the first, good-looking rookie, Colson Montgomery, and that one's gone as well. 3-0. White Sox put 3 on the board in the first. Still 3-0 in the third. More trouble for Slade Sakone. Curtis Mead, RBI single up the middle, out into center field. 4-0. White Sox with the lead. Still in the third, another one of their young hitters, Kyle Teal, an RBI single to right to make it 5-0. Guardians do get on the board. They break the shutout here in the fourth. Kyle Manzardo, a home run to right to make it 5-1. Still 5-1 in the sixth inning. David Fry. That one's going to go as a 2-run double to cut the lead down to 2 at 5-3. Seventh inning, Kyle Manzardo just keeps hitting, and this one's going to clear the fence in right. Second home run of the day, but the Guardians can't get the sweep. They still do take the series. 6-4 is the final. Guardians a day off today. Just a half game back of the Yankees for that third and final wild card spot in the American League. 3-game series will get underway tomorrow at Progressive Field against the Marlins. Logan Allen against Jansen Junk for the Marlins. Paul Hoynes will be along a little bit later. We will talk Guardians in that playoff spot. But up first, it's Lance Reisland. We're talking Browns training camp today. We'll look back at the preseason. Lance Reisland from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. Straight ahead. Stay with us.
You got so much to do. It's got you feeling blue. Put a little play in your day. 'Cause it's fun all over the state. So come on. Great games wait for you and me. The Ohio Lottery. Put a little play in your day. Put a little play in your day.
Browns were back on the practice field out in Berea early this morning. A day off tomorrow for travel, then joint practices against the Eagles coming up Wednesday and Thursday. Myles Garrett was creating some problems. Grabs Dylan Sampson, throws him to the ground. Garrett, some good penetration. Joe Flacco to Jerry Jeudy, you have to like seeing that. Dylan Gabriel back in practicing. Here he finds Deontay Johnson on a nice one. Led well. Shedeur Sanders, some second and third team reps. This one's pretty nice, though. Again, he finds Deontay Johnson in the back of the end zone. Bad snap here, and pretty nice throw as he finds Deontay Johnson, kind of that third level, cutting across. And here, Shedeur Sanders, this one appears to be behind Sal Cannella, but it's away from a defender. Cannella grabs it and makes the play. Let's welcome in Lance Reisland from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. Lance, as always, you were out at camp watching the Browns go through workouts. What were some takeaways from today?
Well, the quarterbacks had their best day as a group without question in terms of accuracy. That last pass you throw from Sanders was interesting. It was behind a little bit, but the pre-snap processing was what I really liked. They ran motion. The safety ran over. He knew that the tight end was going to have good leverage. That timing will come up even more, but that was a really good read by him. As I said, the quarterbacks were outstanding today. Accurate. Their footwork was very good. Their footwork matched. If they were going deep, they reset their feet to throw short. Very catchable footballs. The tight ends played well. Receivers played well. It was just a very sharp day for the offense down in the red zone. Obviously, without pads, it's always going to be a little bit easier for the offense. But their operation, their accuracy, very good day for the quarterbacks, all four of them.
Who else kind of stood out to you? I mean, from just what we saw, looks like Deontay Johnson was making plays no matter who was quarterback.
Well, yeah, you're starting to see his talent kind of rise to the top here. He's really, really good at both inside and outside. Ran that, they did a really nice job. I've always been impressed with Kevin Stefanski's ability to create space in the red zone. It's so tight down there. And that play that you saw, Gabriel hit Johnson across the back of the end zone there. They actually ran Fannin out to stretch that outside linebacker and create a great window. And Gabriel saw it, and Deontay Johnson made a great catch. But you can see his ability to catch the ball at the catch point. His releases are fantastic versus man in zone. He's really good run after catch. You can see how explosive he is. He's got a lot of twitch and a lot of suddenness to him. Obviously, it's not about football with Deontay Johnson. His stuff on the football field is just outstanding. Seems like he's every day I watch him, he practices hard. Doesn't say much. I think he's going to be an outstanding addition to this team. And he's starting to kind of show his talent and what it made him like an all-pro type of guy over the last week or so.
Earlier in the day, we found out Luke Floria, that hamstring injury is pretty severe. They waived him with an injury designation. Sounds like they'd like to have him back. He certainly kind of has shown up and is an intriguing guy.
Well, yeah, no doubt about him. Larvadain, Caden Davis, McDonald. There's a lot of guys that come unheralded that weren't drafted that I think have had outstanding camps. And, obviously when you talk about draft picks and, where people put their money in, I understand. I'm starting to learn that a little bit. But in terms of productivity, these young guys who are undrafted have been really, really productive all camp against everybody. Flory is the guy that gives him punt return possibilities. Obviously, you saw his ability to catch the ball in space, his spatial awareness. He's really good in the slot. I think he gives an added dimension. He's also, if you think about a guy in a practice squad, when you face those other teams that have slot receivers and stuff, as he's learning this game, he can be a really good look for that defense as well if he does make the practice squad. Very impressed with Floria, a guy who can eventually make this roster, I believe, because of his skill set. The hamstring definitely will hold him back, but obviously we can all see his talent level when healthy.
Was there anybody on the defense that kind of showed up? I mean, we saw, Myles Garrett, very difficult to block even by his own teammates. Is there anybody else on the defensive side in practice today that showed? We'll talk a little bit about the preseason game next segment.
Well, some of these guys that are back, Christopher Edmonds is a defensive back who keeps making plays. Every single day he's there. Every single day I'm there. He kind of makes a play in the secondary. But what I like about him is his versatility in Jim Schwartz's defense. He can play on the line of scrimmage, linebacker, nickel. He can do so many different things. He's played on the half. He can cover tight ends. He can cover receivers. He's just a really tall, long, athletic kid. But what I like most about the defense is their communication. You can tell, as I said earlier, that they've been in the system a while. So their communication and motions and formations, they're not getting tricked right now. And Coach Stefanski does a great job of trying to create those mismatches and find those weaknesses. Browns are doing a really good job on defense of communicating, flying around. And I'll say this again, obviously Carson Schwesinger is a great football player, but he's also a very, very knowledgeable player that is allowing the rest of his teammates to play as he makes the calls and gets everybody set up. So very impressive, their communication.
How did the breakdown of the quarterbacks work in practice after the preseason game?
Well, I thought it was really good. So it's very similar to what it was. They went Flacco, and then they did Gabriel one time. They did Sanders one time. It's very, very similar to what it was. And what I like about it was not a knee-jerk reaction. And I said that before the game, whether he played well, which he absolutely played outstanding for his first start, Sanders. I still think if he would have played poorly, they have a great plan for him. And that plan is allowing him to be successful. He's not going from 1 to 10. He's going from 1 to 2 to 3. He's scaffolding and building, and Coach Stefanski and his staff is doing a great job of building all these guys. So I thought the rotation was very similar today. He got some good looks. He made some great throws. All those guys did. So I think, again, the competition is still neck and neck. But what he's done, obviously, he's pushed his name in there. You get an opportunity, you take advantage of your opportunity, more reps will come. And that's what I foresee moving here to Philly. I'm really looking forward to Wednesday and Thursday because those are going to be 2 really good days.
Did Gabriel look to be able to move around a little bit? You think we might see him in that preseason game Saturday? 1 o'clock is the kickoff for the second preseason game.
Well, I'm really hoping. I say yes, but I really hope he gets some looks. All those guys get some looks on Wednesday and Thursday because you're going to get live action with some serious grown men on the line of scrimmage on Wednesday and Thursday, and they're going to go at it really, really hard. So I hope he gets some reps, and yes, I hope he does get some game reps. Put the ball down and play on Saturday because I think it's a very important week for him. Obviously, Sanders got the call and did a great job, whether it's due to injury or not. Your best ability is your availability, and Sanders was available. So I think it's very important that he competes both Wednesday and Thursday and has a very good game on Saturday, especially in terms of his accuracy.
Can you start to see Joe Flacco looking like the guy that's played as long as he has in the NFL? I mean, the reps were limited until probably middle of last week, and now he's kind of ramped up what he's doing.
There's no question for me that Joe Flacco is the number 1 guy, and it's not even really that close, especially with Pickett's injury, and I know they were high on him. I think the rookies have done an awesome job. I think they have a great plan for the rookies. Whether we like it or not, I think there's a plan, and I like that in terms of they're not worried about what everybody else says. But for the guy who's going to be the play against Cincinnati, it's Joe Flacco. You can see his accuracy, his footwork, his balance, his weight transfer, his knowledge, his experience, all that stuff. It's all there. These guys all look up to him, including the other young quarterbacks. So there's no doubt Joe Flacco's the guy early on. And if he's the best guy, he should play all the time, regardless of what they're trying to build for the future. You got to win now, and I will always say that.
Lance Reisland from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com, and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, we'll head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. We'll talk a little bit about that first preseason game. Look forward to the joint practices. Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns with Lance Reisland from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. Let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Okay, guys, watching that first game, whatever, preseason, doesn't mean anything. But already they've got to calm down about Shedeur Sanders and where he's going. He played 1 preseason game, and that doesn't mean anything. Remember last year and the years before we had DTR. Everybody was getting all excited how DTR was. How was he when he got in the game and teams game plan for him? How did he make out? He stunk. So let's calm down, people, and let's not think Shedeur Sanders is the next Tom Brady, because he's not. And we don't have Bill Belichick as the coach, that's for sure. Take care.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Lance, that's one of our Kevin Stefanski fans. But beyond that, be happy with what you saw from Shedeur Sanders. But, the gold jacket ceremony, we'll hold off on that in Canton for now. But again, you can only have success with what you're given. He had success with what he was given in the first preseason game.
Well, the one thing I've learned, now that I'm not coaching, it's been a couple years, is that you got to enjoy the victories. And sometimes as a coach, you don't enjoy the victories, or as a player, you're always criticizing yourself. and you kind of need you got a victory. And what I mean by that is that I thought they played well, and that, the goal going in was, operation and, very, very simple stuff. And he surpassed that. So I think there's got to be a level of like, okay, we did that. It doesn't mean everything was done. It doesn't mean there wasn't some bad, Shedeur Sanders is going to make some mistakes. He's a young kid. He's also going to make some great plays. It's way too much scrutiny. That's why I like today there was no knee-jerk reaction from the coaches. It was just, we have a plan and we're sticking with our plan. Now, that being said, Shedeur went out there with immense pressure, everybody in the world looking at him, and he performed pretty well. And whatever they gave him. And that second touchdown was a very complex read, and he did a really nice job moving his feet. He played with great poise. Did he backpedal too much? Yeah, maybe. Did he have a couple bad plays? Absolutely. But I thought it was a very solid start, and you build from that. You're never satisfied. Satisfied is a terrible word, but I thought it was a good start, and you celebrate those things and you move forward, whether it's good or bad. And I think that's what the Browns are doing.
The other thing that it struck me as I'm watching it, we kept hearing he doesn't have the athletic skills of his dad. Well, 99.8% of America or the world doesn't have the athletic skills of his dad. He's more athletic, I think, than we were led to believe. And I'm not saying I want to see him run, but he can avoid some pressure.
Well, the good thing is that pocket movement, right? So if you go all the way back, I'm going to age myself here, but I'm going to go Dan Marino, Tom Brady, those kind of guys, those guys who don't run very well but are outstanding in the pocket with their feet. Now, he's not a Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen type runner, but what he does is he moves his feet enough to be good in the pocket, which is very important in a Kevin Stefanski scheme, whether you're throwing the boots or waggles or whether you're throwing from different launch points, you're sprinting out, you're throwing from 3, 5, 7. There's a bunch of different places you have to throw from, and you have to move your feet. And he does a very nice job of moving his feet. He's also got a great feel where pressure is coming from. You saw that on the second touchdown pass where he slid to his right and let Marshall make that block on the blitz. So he does have outstanding pocket feet, and he's a much better athlete. And when your dad's Deion Sanders, I don't know if that's a fair comparison, but yeah, his movement skills are very good, especially within the pocket.
Yeah, I'm with you. That the second touchdown was good stuff. If you get that, you're going to have a very successful NFL quarterback. Former NFL lineman Gerald McCoy and Brian Baldinger, what they want to see from Shedeur Sanders in his next preseason game.
Consistency. Just whatever you did week one, just build on that. Sure. He said he gave himself a C+, I think it was. There's a lot of things he didn't do that he wanted to do well. I think one of those things would be him retreating and losing those yards. And, that's a mistake that he knows he can't make. But just some of the throws he missed, putting more touch on them. But just be consistent. Do what you did. Don't try and go out there and do anything that's over the top. My dad always told me, don't go out there and try and make plays. Do the things it takes to make plays. Mm-hmm. And if you can do that consistently, then I think he can build on what he just did.
What I would say, Gerald, is continue to do what he just did. Like, he led this team to scoring drives.
Yep.
The team is going to respond to you. And they responded against Carolina. Can they do that against the Eagles in Philadelphia this weekend? And so whatever amount of reps, opportunities he gets, keep driving the team. Keep the team moving, especially finishing it in the end zone.
The other thing, Lance, that we haven't really made a big deal, there wasn't a lot of pre-snap penalties. There were some later in the game, but by and large, it was pretty clean operationally.
Well, yeah, and I think it has a lot to do with, they're going a little bit more live in practice. And I've said this from day one. I don't think all penalties are you're undisciplined. You constantly hear that, they're so undisciplined. I think a lot of times is they're not acclimated. And what I mean by that is that they're not up to 100% because that's not how Kevin Stefanski runs his practice. He's also a multiple coach of the year, so he knows how to run practice, and he does it his way, which I respect. But sometimes when you're not live and you're running into each other like those big human beings are, and you're not acclimated, you just get antsy, and the operation can get a little bit antsy just because you haven't gone live. They've gone a little bit more live this year, so I think that takes away a lot of that angst when you're in your stance early in the game or early in series. So very well, once again, the operation was great. Formations were great. If you ask me what's next, it's just the next step, right? So instead of going, everybody wanted him to start and be the guy, I think it's very important that you continuously build him, and whatever step you're on, you go to that next step and then the next step. And as he masters these steps, it's going to give him a chance to be really, really successful instead of just going in there with the whole test right now. I don't think he needs that. Continue to build success, and that's how you build a good quarterback.
Who are some guys when you were watching the preseason game that you thought played really well?
Well, Mason Graham, we're going to do the obvious, right? So Mason Graham's a guy who plays really heavy. He's going to be better in pads, right? You can see he got double teamed a couple times. He talked about it today down at practice. He's got to work his pad level, things he didn't have to do when you're just bigger and stronger in college. He'll get that. Carson Schwesinger played 13 plays and had 6 tackles. You see his ability to use his hands. I'm actually going to do a piece on him because his instincts and his fundamentals are just outstanding. I thought the offensive line got some pretty good movement inside with their double teams. I knew it was tough during the week because the Browns' defensive tackles penetrate so much, but you can see some of that toughness that they had. I thought Marshall is a back that's kind of putting his name in there, especially for the red zone. If you remember what Kareem Hunt did in the red zone, where you can do some, direct snaps and just kind of have a big banger in there who can really get the ball in the end zone. So I was impressed with him. And obviously, I just thought as a whole, the defense played with great communication and great sense of urgency and acted like they had a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, which I thought was very important.
Yeah, and Marshall's the guy that had the blitz pickup as well. So when you get that, you can be on the field in third down if you can make that kind of play. Head coach Kevin Stefanski asked about the 2 joint practices, which will happen Wednesday and Thursday against the Eagles in Philadelphia. Will it be the same with the ones getting a lot of the joint practices, 2s and 3s in preseason, and getting a lot of work in the game?
No, that won't change. I mean, that's why you do these practices. I think, and both sides view it that way, typically, because you script the practice so that the ones get the vast majority, so that then your guys that are getting the 2s and 3s reps can get the majority of their reps in the game.
What did you see, or what did you think of some of the running backs on Friday night? Hadn't seen a lot of those guys, and then does that room feel kind of wide open right now?
I hope every room feels that these guys are pushing each other, and we're still in training camp mode. So I think that's the mentality that these guys have. I think the running back room in particular, Scott, I was really pleased with how hard those guys run. As you know, in practice, if you're not going live, it's hard for runners to show truly because they get thudded or they get tagged off and the ball stops. But you get to see guys break tackles, and I thought you saw that the other night.
Lance, you're going to be in Philadelphia Wednesday and Thursday for the joint practices. What are you paying attention to, and what do you think is important in those joint practices for the Browns coaches to see?
Well, I don't think there's any question. For me, it's going to be up front. You got 2 really good offensive and defensive lines on both sides. So you got Mariota and versus Miles. You're going to get Lane Johnson versus Alex Wright and all those guys. Obviously, Landon Dickerson got hurt a little bit in the last preseason. He probably won't play, but you got Cam Jurgens inside, Stein. So just that physicality inside. Then obviously you go the other side of the ball, you're going to see the Browns guards and center going against Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, 2 300-plus pounders who can really move. So for me, it's going to be that physicality, and do they keep that physicality inside? Obviously, there's going to be some great matchups on the outside, and Jalen Hurts and all this kind of stuff. But for me, football, for the Browns to get back to, especially this year, winning football, they have to create that physical identity, and there's no one better in the NFL to test yourself against, especially inside, than the Philadelphia Eagles. This will be one of the better defenses they see, probably the best defensive tackle combo they'll see all year. So I'm looking forward to watching those guys inside for 2 days get after each other and see how the Browns hold up.
Were you impressed with the young defensive linemen that got to play against the Panthers? It looked like later in the game some of those guys started to really get into the backfield a little bit.
Well, this Holly kid, Ralph Holly kid, the kid out of who was in the CFL, he plays really, really heavy. And I think that's important, especially with those backup guys, because of the fact that they're just going to be rotational guys to cause a lot of problems. Okawar thought it did a nice job. Troyan Shayanka had a good day-to-day this morning. So they have a lot of depth and a lot of guys who can kind of do what they need them to do. They could be specialists because of Mason Graham, because of Malik Collins. Shelby Harris can come in and just be a run stopper if they're struggling against the run. They have bodies that they can run at you in this Jim Schwartz defense. And then I think they got a guy behind him in Schwesinger that's going to make up for anything they miss. So the defensive lineman as a whole, I thought, played with great energy, and you saw that depth. And they're not losing anything with that depth, which is key when you get to second and third quarter. Very impressed with their ability to, even Juwan Briggs, just such a heavy kid. It's just really hard to block him. So just a lot of depth, a lot of rotation. Look forward to seeing those guys this week, both on Wednesday and Thursday and Saturday afternoon.
Lance Reisland, plain dealer, cleveland.com, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Lance.
As always, thanks for having me.
Lance Reisland, make sure you check him out, plain dealer, cleveland.com. Always really good breakdowns of the Browns and what's going on at training camp. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. Jacob Roach from the Orange and Brown Report. Straight ahead, stay with us.
You got so much to do, it's got you feeling blue. Put a little play in your day, 'cause it's fun all over the state. So come on, great games wait for you and me. The Ohio Lottery. Put a little play in your day. Put a little play in your day.
We continue talking Browns on Sports4CLE. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Yeah, hi Dave. This is Guitar Chic of Parma. I heard a recent caller on 92 Fan that brought up an interesting point about Shedeur Sanders, and this is not meant to be a negative, but he said he has never seen anything like Shedeur in the fact that he's never won a conference title, he's never won a bowl game, he's never been remotely considered for a Heisman. Yet he has, everybody's just on board for him being the starting quarterback, but he's never proven anything. And I was just wondering what your thoughts would be on that. And also I saw an article on Sports Illustrated about other teams calling the Browns for one of the quarterbacks, and the quarterback that was named was not who you would think it is. It's for Gabriel. Some teams wanted to trade for Gabriel. So that's all. I just want to know what your thoughts would be on that. And go Browns. Woof, woof.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Let's welcome in Jacob Roach from the Orange and Brown Report and the Barking Browns podcast. Jacob, the thing about conference championships, and you'd say that about Brock Purdy, there are a lot of guys, and he just pops to mind, there are a lot of guys who don't have a lot of success because of circumstances at a college. Dylan Gabriel, I'm not sure at this point that teams would want to trade for him, and they could have drafted him. The Browns took him in the third, and that was higher than most teams had him. But relative to Shedeur, it was a good first step.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I talked about it all last week, kind of leading up to that game for Shedeur, where it was like, hey, I think this is his first real test. Yeah, he's getting tested with his reps in practice, and he had some reps, against the Browns' first team offense or defense a couple of times, or at least one time. But this was the first real test to show, I can run an NFL offense. I can communicate in a huddle and get everybody lines up and everything. And I think he kind of passed that first test. And, I think sometimes we do, I just come back to this when the caller talked about no conference championship, things like that. I come back to this thing I've said for years, that wins are not a quarterback stat. I know that we like to attach it to the quarterbacks a lot, but it's not a quarterback stat to me, because you got to look at where Colorado was, especially before Deion and Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter and all them came there. And it's like outside, he had a horrible offensive line, and then he had Travis Hunter, and the other wide receivers weren't as great and things like that. So winning those things are great. The accomplishments that you make, they're awesome, but I don't put wins as a quarterback stat. It's a coach stat. So holding that stuff against them to try to judge him as a player, I think people put too much weight on that aspect of the evaluation, in my opinion.
Yeah, and the other thing is just because a guy has success at the college level and wins those and is the Heisman Trophy winner, NFL is littered with guys that have won the Heisman Trophy and have not done well in the NFL. But again, I'm with you. I thought it was a good first step. Let's see what's next. Give him a little bit more and see if he can handle it. I know you wrote an article. Take us through how you thought the rookies that got to play against the Panthers did.
So I was a little upset, that Luke Floria ends up getting the waived with the injury designation. But if he clears waivers, he'll revert back to IR, which probably means a practice squad spot for him in the future. I gave him a C+. He had that really awesome grab from it was an awesome throw and an awesome catch Shedeur hit him for a 30-yarder. And I thought he was running some good routes and he did some nice things, but that's really tough. One of the guys I really liked, Monty Marshall there. You know, we've been talking about trying to find that third down power back with, you know, the uncertainty going on with Quinshon Judkins. And I thought he ran hard with authority. Had a big gain to the outside. I think he had like 11-yard run on an outside zone concept that was really nice. And, you know, you see that second touchdown pass from Shedeur Sanders where he steps up to avoid a blitzer and hits Caden Davis. And there comes Amani Marshall and he just takes out that blitzer. He had a couple of really nice pass blocking reps from the running back position. And that's not something that Dylan Sampson and Ford provide you very much of. So if you're trying to make a roster being a power back and showing you can block, okay, you've got my attention. Gage Lavarden was next. Larvadan. Yes, Larvadan.
Yep.
It's rough for me. So I appreciate that just coming in there. He's a guy I wrote about and have talked about over at the OBR.com. He may automatically get a roster spot because he successfully ran a jet sweep, and Kevin Stefanski's been trying to do that consistently for 6 years. So that might be an automatic 53-man roster spot for that touchdown, but had some good grabs, and he nearly broke a punt return. He had a 30-yard punt return. And really the other guys that really stood out, Carson Schwesinger, I gave him an A. I can give him an A because he was on the field for 13 snaps. He had 6 tackles. 4 of them were stopped tackles, which means most of his production was considered a failure by the offense on that play. He was absolutely everywhere. And then, of course, Mason Graham, you know, the defensive tackle, the 5th overall pick, he was demanding double teams right away. And I saw some people talk on Twitter about it. They're like, well, if he gets double teamed all preseason, can you imagine what it's going to be like when they start doubling and tripling Miles and he gets single coverage? He's going to be so used to double teams, and all of a sudden he's just going to have one person blocking him. So I thought he looked really good. There was a double team where he literally took both guys, just threw them off to the side and undercut the running back's legs, and it's just an epitome of what I saw on his tape as a run defender. The young guys, in my opinion, the rookies, really, I think all around, there were some other guys that had some good reps. Donovan McMillan, I gave him a B minus in his performance. I was really impressed with some of these young guys, and I know, grain of salt, who they're going against. And even Carolina starters, their defense is not that great, so especially on the offensive rookies that play, but you know, I understand it's a preseason, but preseason to me is taking an opportunity in front of you and showing that you deserve more opportunities. And a lot of these young guys did that.
Yeah, and I'm with you. You can only have success on the plays against who you're playing against, and it's kind of like the whole schedule thing. You can only beat the teams that are on your schedule. So I'm with you. I agree with you. Let's not put them in the Hall of Fame, but they looked pretty good from what they were able to do. What did you think of I'm curious your thoughts, the offensive line, and particularly some of the schemes? It seemed to me, and I think this is a sign of good coaching, it seemed to me like Kevin Stefanski did some things for Shedeur Sanders that play to his strengths. Hey, what a concept.
It's wild, isn't it? Like, who would have thunk it? Yeah, and it was interesting because, you know, Shedeur didn't have a lot of under center snaps when he's in college. I think 6 snaps under center in his entire collegiate career, and they were able to give him some of those. He had 4 of them, so you know they were able to mix that in, and he didn't have any issues with the exchange from center. I think Luke Whippler had a heck of a game. Just shout out to him. But so that was nice. But yeah, you saw them still lean into a little bit of the shotgun because that's where Sanders is comfortable, and he's still acclimating himself under center and learning and those sorts of things. So it was really cool to see. I thought Kevin put him in a really good chance to shine. I gave Shedeur Sanders a B+ in this game because I think there were a couple of things that make me a little bit nervous running around in the backfield. But yeah, he put him in a really, really good spot to succeed. And this analogy, I was thinking about this, like talking about what we saw overall from the offensive line, because I thought the offensive line depth outside of a couple people played really well. You know, when you go away for a business trip, or in my case, I was in the Army, and like I'd go away for a deployment or some kind of training, you'd be away for a while. And when you came home It was just so nice and comfortable to be back to where you wanted to be and be home. That's how that offense felt. It was a Kevin Stefanski return. It was like there was a lot of that wide zone, pin pull gap. Nothing crazy. He's not going to show a bunch of crazy stuff in the preseason, but it just felt like home watching that offense. And it just was really comforting to see it look more like what we're used to out of Kevin.
Yeah, he went empty a couple of times, and Shedeur was able to kind of get matchups and do it, so I'm with you. Jacob Roach from the Orange and Brown Report, Barking Browns podcast. Now I'm going to step aside, take a quick time out. We'll head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Sports for CLE. Be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns with Jacob Roach from the Orange and Brown Report. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hey guys, here's some takeaways about the game I really like. First, the quarterback play. While not perfect, the poise, decision-making, and mostly accurate throwing ability of Shedeur stood out, especially those 2 TD passes. The overall physicality we showed was terrific. Stefanski's much tougher camp bodes well for the start of this season. The little things. First 3 quarters, the penalties were almost non-existent. The running back picking up the blitz on the second TD, all very encouraging. Winning the turnover battle and committing none ourselves, it's been a while. And the killer instinct to finish the game and crack 30 points. The coaching looks to be at a new standard. I like the track we're on. Look out, fans. Way to go, Browns.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. Jacob, again, the physicality, and the other thing is the penalties. You're going to get some of them, especially, Snoop Huntley had been there, 24 hours, 48 hours? Yeah. So that's to be expected, but turnovers are huge. All those things, you need to see it again. It'll be much tougher against a much better Philadelphia team.
Yeah, we've just heard ad nauseum, right, from players and from other people that have been on the sidelines. Just so many different people have said, hey, the intensity, the physicality, it's all different this year. They're tackling to the ground for the first time under Kevin Stefanski ever, not just this year or in the last 2 years. In all of his 6 training camps, it's been the most physical, most intense that they've seen. And yeah, they really did bring the battle to Carolina from the very beginning. And this was the first chance in a game setting to be able to see, is that paying off? Pete Smith wrote an article about it. He's like, has this approach paid off? Like, looky here. They've been following this approach, and then it results in what felt like a game that they controlled. And I understand it's a preseason game, but personally, when you're talking about second, third stringers not committing a bunch of pre-snap penalties, they came late in the game and things like that, and you're going to have that because you've got when your 80th guy on the roster's out there and stuff like that, especially with a lot of UDFAs and young guys that just haven't been in the NFL. So there was some there at the end, but it was like your second team and your third team, like they knew where to line up. There wasn't a lot of those issues. The holding and things like that. I don't get as mad about those penalties. It's the really stupid ones, the pre-snap things, and they clean that up. And I was talking to a buddy of mine, and I'm like, the game was just fun. It was just they felt way different than they did at any point last year. And I know it's a preseason game, but a 30-10 win, I'll take wins. Even if they don't count, I'll take them anytime. And it looked like a focused, fun, fundamentally sound team, which is something we talked about last week that, Tommy Rees had talked about, like, oh, we're focused on fundamentals and things like that. And it looked like it, with the product on the field.
Yeah, and the other thing is when your second and third teamers compete like that, it's usually a sign that your roster is pretty good. So we'll see. It certainly didn't look like one of the worst rosters in the NFL when you go out and you get that. All right, tomorrow's day off. Then it's 2 days of joint practices in Philadelphia against Super Bowl champion Eagles. Kevin Stefanski knows his lines, both offense and defense. They better be ready to go against the Eagles.
It's a great test. They're I can't imagine there's a better combination of offensive line, defensive line than the Eagles and who we're facing. So it's an awesome test for our guys. And again, I've been up close and seen this line when we practice against them. They're really well coached. They got great players, so it's a great challenge for our guys.
Do you have any update on Quinchon? Do you expect him back this week?
I don't have an update. I think most joint practices follow a similar structure, if you will, and I think credit to Coach Canales down there, and then obviously Nick and I have talked, and we've done these type of structures before, so I think you want to be really organized, real efficient with your time, and make sure that you're getting all the looks that you need to get for both sides.
So, Jacob, it's 2 days. What do you want to hear coming out of these joint practices? What would be good? And then what do you not want to hear? What would be bad?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a double-edged sword. On the first one for me, it's the physicality. Does it continue? Like, now that you're up against the defending champions, who a lot of people will tell you they have as one of the best rosters in football, even after some of the things that they lost. And I would tend to agree, after winning that Super Bowl. And then I think they had another good offseason. I know they lost some talent, but they're really good up front. And the offense and defensive lines, like, they feel like the linchpin on both sides of the ball, because on the offense, you're going to want to run the ball and do play action and things like that. So if this starting offensive line, I need them to have a good couple of days. If they're getting beat and Joe Flacco's getting, I know they won't sack him to the ground, but like Joe Flacco, whoever's back there is running for their lives, that's going to be a big concern for me. I'm really worried about that, because I think this is a better team than the Carolina Panthers, and that's not a slight to the Carolina Panthers as much as it's just saying I think Philadelphia is a more talented, better coached team. And so in the defensive line, I want to see them be able to wreak havoc, because that's the strength of this team, in my personal opinion, top to bottom. I think that defensive line, inside and outside, is incredibly talented, and I really want to see them be able to go out there, and they don't have to dominate, because that's a good offensive line that Philly has, but if they are making Jalen Hurts days long and causing him some grief and some things like that, I'll feel really, really good about that. So really, it's going to start in the trenches, and then for me, it's going to be about quarterback play. Does this look like an NFL offense? Like we heard today, many people that were at practice here on Monday said this was the best day for the quarterbacks that we've seen. Several different reporters, I saw that on social media, saying, hey man, they threw the ball. And if you look at I know I don't like to talk about the quarterback stat tracker very much, but if you look at that, the ball didn't hit the ground very much. Can the offense, I know at this time last year, it did not look like an NFL offense. Does it look like an NFL offense? Doesn't have to look like a juggernaut, but does it look like an NFL offense against a great Philly defense? Because if it does, then that goes a long way in me thinking, hey man, this team could get a little frisky, could have a little bit of success this year.
Yeah, here's the other thing that I'm curious. The wide receivers, I want to know, are they able to hold up against A.J. Brown, especially because you don't have Martin Emerson, you don't have a big physical guy, and Devontae Smith. They got pretty good wide receivers. So I'm curious. Secondary's got to be able to play well as well.
Yeah, for sure. And, Cam Mitchell struggled in this opening preseason game. So currently one of my biggest kind of concerns is the slot corner role, because Greg Newsome has been bounced back to the outside. I think he's better on the outside. I don't really want to then have to bounce him back to the inside, because then it's a whole different, you just going back and forth, and I just prefer to keep him out there. Now, a guy I will say that I'm very interested to see how much run he gets. They just signed him he came out of South Carolina in 2023. Darius Rush just signed the corner. Crazy good athlete. Really like him in the slot when he was coming out. So that's a guy too I want to see. Does he get mixed in? Does he get some of these looks with Cam Mitchell kind of struggling in the slot? Because I have some concerns about the slot corner. I feel good about Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome. I agree with you though. I want to see what they do against these wide receivers. But yeah, I'm very worried currently about the slot option. So I'll be watching that closely.
Jacob Roach, Orange and Brown Report, Barking Browns podcast, as always. Great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Jacob.
Thanks, guys.
Jacob Roach, make sure you check him out. Writes for the Orange and Brown Report, also co-host of the Barking Browns podcast. We're going to take a quick time out. We turn our attention to the Guardians. Paul Hoynes, Guardians beat reporter from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com. Straight ahead, stay with us on Sports4CLE.
You got so much to do, it's got you feeling blue. Put a little play in your day, 'cause it's fun all over the state. So come on, great games wait for you and me. The Ohio Lottery. Put a little play in your day. Put a little play in your day.
We turn our attention to the Guardians. A day off today, only a half game behind the Yankees for that third and final wild card spot in the American League. Let's welcome in Paul Hoynes, Guardians beat reporter for cleveland.com, the Plain Dealer. Hoynesy, I know you wrote an article about pitching and really how it's helped the Guardians get back into that playoff position.
Yeah, definitely, Dave. Especially the rotation has really, I think, really pitched well. Given they lose Luis Ortiz, but we've seen really consistent starts out of Sakone and Gavin Williams. Tanner Bybee has been a little bit up and down, but he always gets into the fifth or sixth inning. Logan Allen and even Joey Cantillo has really kind of stepped up his game of late.
Which of those guys do you think kind of has taken a step forward? And there's a couple of guys that if they pitch like they're capable of, they're top of the rotation guys. Is there anybody that's really stood out as they've gotten back into this?
Yeah, I think Sakone, Slade Sakone is blowing me away, Dave. I mean, this was a guy, no one knew what I guess the Guardians knew what they were getting, but, from the outside looking in, when they made the deal in December for Josh Naylor for Sakone, you're looking at his numbers and, those numbers were frightening, to be honest. It looked like, they were just, they just didn't want to pay Naylor's salary. At least that's what it looked like to me. But this guy has really, he's turned into. He looks like, to me, Dave. He looks like he's emerging to the kind of a top of the order starter. The key, I think, when he hurt himself in spring training, pulled an oblique muscle, and he was missed most of camp. He opened on the IL. But he used that time with the Guardians pitching group to really make a lot of little changes in his delivery and his pitch selection, and it's really paying off.
So we mentioned just a half game behind the Yankees. They've made up some ground on everybody else and are now, in that fourth spot with the top three making the wild card. In your mind, what's going to be the key or a couple of keys if they're going to get that wild card spot? What do they need? Who do they need to step up, if you will?
Yeah, they need to keep scoring runs, Dave. That's been a problem all year. They have to keep scoring. They have to get more. Quan and Ramirez have had a tough road trip. They're in mini slumps right now. Those two guys have to come back, but I think those are probably the least of their worries. They have to continue to get production from guys like Manzardo, Arias, Rocchio. Those guys have to really produce up and down that lineup. And Dave, I think the bullpen has to hold together. I think this is going to be the biggest test for the pen for me. Without Class A, can they hold up? Can Cade Smith answer the bill repeatedly as a closer? Can they find another guy to at least take Class A's place? Can Tim Herron make it back from Columbus and give them what he gave them last season going down the stretch? I really think this bullpen is going to be under the magnifying glass.
What have you thought of C.J. Kayfus, a young guy getting his first taste in the big leagues? He doesn't look overmatched.
No, I mean, I've been really impressed with this guy. He's not that big, Dave. I don't know. I pictured somebody a little bigger. What was the movie, The Roadhouse, when when they said the bouncer, they said, I thought you'd be bigger, but no, but CJ has done everything they've asked him to do. I mean, he's shown a little power. He's played first base. He's played right field. He made that great catch for Gavin Williams to keep the no-hitter going against the Mets. Really been impressed with the way he swung the bat. I mean, I wonder, they've kind of painted themselves into a corner with, CJ, Santana, Manzardo, and Nolan Jones. They've got all these left-handed hitters with the exception of Santana for three positions. And, Vogt has really had to, do a lot of lineup juggling to keep them all, playing and all of them sharp.
So Travis Bazana, #1 overall pick last year, promoted to AAA after missed a chunk of time this year with an injury. How close do you think he is to making his big league debut? I know you wrote an article for the Plain Dealer at cleveland.com on this.
Yeah, this is really kind of interesting for me. I wonder, did they just bring him up to Columbus to get his feet wet, to get him established at the highest level in the minors for next year, or they really didn't help themselves that much at the deadline offensively, or if Bazana catches fire, do they bring him up like they brought Kayfus up? It would definitely create a logjam. Player-wise, because Rocchio has moved over to second base and has played very well there, and Bazana is a second baseman pretty much only. I don't think he's as versatile as the Guardians' other position players.
Yeah, and a couple of guys, Nick Kurtz, Jack Caglione, who were taken behind him, have had varying degrees of success in the big league, so it's something to monitor. Guardians fans want to know about Stephen Quan. Do you think they have to still be talking about a long-term contract with him? What do you think that looks like? And I know this was in one of your Hey Hoynesies.
Yeah, this is an interesting question. A reader wrote me and asked if Roman Anthony, the Boston rookie that they extended, gave an 8-year extension to, does that form a baseline for Quan's contract? And to me, David, it's like that's apples and oranges. I mean, you're talking Quan is a 4-year guy. Anthony, the Boston player, is a rookie. I mean, he hasn't even played a year in the big leagues. So perhaps that is some kind of baseline, but I don't think it's the real baseline. You look at different, the different algorithms that with salary. They say Quan's market value right now, his current market value, if he was out a free agent, would be almost $20 million a year. So I don't know. I'm not sure how. I'm sure that Quan's agents are glad to hear that, but I don't think the Guardians are especially glad to hear that.
Yeah, Anthony's the guy that was the top minor league prospect heading into the year, and it was 8 years, $120 million. So. When a guy plays well, they get paid these days.
Yeah, and and obviously the Red Sox took a gamble on this guy because they don't know what's going to happen 2-3 years down the road. Quan has a track record. Quan is a 3-time Gold Glove winner, a 2-time All-Star. So he's not even in the same service group as Anthony. So it's hard to compare those two deals.
I'm curious. I know you wrote an article about this as well. How do you think Stephen Vogt manages the 9th inning during this? It's a playoff run. I call it what it is. How does he deal with that?
Yeah, this is really interesting. He's gone to Cade Smith a lot, but he's also shown an ability to go to Hunter Gaddis. It's a closer by committee. And I hate those 3 words. I think if you have a closer by committee, to me, Dave, you don't have a closer. So I really like the idea of having one guy as your closer. I think Smith will eventually emerge as that guy, but right now, he's got a lot of balls in the air, and I think it's going to depend on matchups and how big a lead they have in the ninth inning, and who is the freshest out of Gaddis, Cade Smith, Zabrowski. We've seen those three guys kind of emerge in the late innings, and that's why it's really important for somebody else to lend a hand there. I don't know who it is. Maybe Trevor Stephan comes back up from Columbus, but they need another hard-throwing, a strikeout guy, a guy that can pitch critical innings, leverage innings late in the game.
Yeah, I'm with you. And when you have the closer, you can use the rest of the guys so it's all defined roles, and they know this is what I do. This is, and be ready for it. Before I let you go, I got to ask you about the gambling scandal with Ortiz and Clase. I know you wrote an article about it, and how this could be something that's not just a one-year thing. It could have a lasting impact on the Guardians.
Oh, this is really critical to me. Even if they didn't trade Clase, if they kept him, they still had him for 3.5 years at a price that any team would have paid to keep Clase. You're talking about maybe a Hall of Fame closer, or at least on a trajectory of a Hall of Fame closer. And now we don't know. We'll find out. We could find out by August 31st, but I have a feeling this thing is going to get extended again. And with Ortiz, in their internal when they rate their players, when they grade their players with their internal system, the Guardians I'm talking about, they had him making the biggest jump of any of their starters, the biggest improvement of any of their starters this year, in pitches and delivery, and to say they might not have him again. This is a guy, that they had under control for 4 more years, that was affordable. And, so you're talking about 2 pitchers that could be gone, from this organization. And the impact is not just for this season, as you said.
Paul Hoynes, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Paul.
Thank you.
I'm sure we'll check back in with Paul Hoynes as the Guardians continue to try to wrap up one of those wild card spots. That's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. We will see you back here tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow at 4 on Sports for CLE.